Reports from committees. Prime Minister's question.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'll give the acting Prime Minister the time to get his bearings right. Having acted on how many occasions, I think he would have had his bearings correct by now.
Proceed. Member for Couva South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, will the Prime Minister update the House on the status of the Commission of Inquiry into the diverse tragedy of February 2022?
Prime Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is expected that the two commissioners, Justice Dennis Morrison and Mr. Gregory Wilson, will be presented with their instruments of appointment within the next 2 days. They will also be meeting with the counsel to the Commission, Mr. Ramesh Lawrence Maraj, SC, and his team. The terms of reference for the inquiry have been settled and will be published shortly. It should be noted that the conduct of the inquiry will be the sole responsibility of the commissioners.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Could you clarify for the benefit of this House whether the Commission will, in terms of the number of commissioners, will be 2 or 3 as the government finalized on that?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I think this matter has already been addressed in the public domain. Maybe the member did not hear this. The decision is that a specialized firm of experts will act as an independent consultant to the Commission rather than the appointment of a third commissioner.
Member for Oropouche East.
Would the Prime Minister indicate the government's position as it relates to providing legal representation for the families of those divers before the Commission of Inquiry?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, the government will be advised and take advice from the commissioners and other advisors on that matter. I would not want to make a premature statement on that at this time.
Member for Couva South.
Madam Speaker, could the Prime Minister inform this House of the procurement procedure in relation to the firm that he just alluded to in relation to the third commissioner?
Yeah.
The firm has not yet been procured, but a search will be done using best practice to acquire a firm that would have the necessary specialist expertise.
Please.
Prime Minister, are you indicating to this House and the country that as a result of the answer you just gave, there is absolutely no date to begin this Commission of Inquiry into the tragedy of those divers?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I've already said the conduct of the inquiry will be the sole responsibility of the commissioners. I expect them to commence as soon as possible with dispatch. I therefore do not accept that insinuation from the honourable member.
Member for Point at Clear.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, based on a recent report which quoted the Minister of Finance as stating that the passing of the procurement regulation clears the way for the implementation by the end of March for a system of procurement in Trinidad and Tobago with equitable and transparent procedures, will the Prime Minister state if implementation of this new system has taken place?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act is being reviewed by the new Attorney General prior to its full implementation.
Member for Point of Peer.
As a follow-up, Madam Speaker, to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, as Minister of Finance, you made a statement on February that at the end of March we would have these things in place. Whether we have a new Attorney General or not, when would this happen for the country of Trinidad and Tobago?
Prime Minister.
I think it is only proper that the new Attorney General be given an opportunity to advise the Cabinet on this matter.
Member for Point of Peer.
As a follow-up, Madam Speaker, are you saying that the past Attorney General work was not sufficient to meet the standard as required?
Prime Minister.
I have said what I said. I said that the new Attorney General is reviewing the legislation and will advise the government on its implementation.
Member for Point of Peer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, given the recent announcement of the Prime Minister for a new business model for Lake Asphalt, will the Prime Minister confirm if all the employees of the company would have their job preserved during this transition?
Minister.
At this point in time, all employees at the company have their jobs. The new business model will be finalized by the new line ministry, the Ministry of Works and Transport. All that has happened is a reassignment of portfolios. And therefore, any view on employment at the company is premature.
Member for Point of Peer.
Speaker, as a follow-up, Prime Minister, could you enlighten us what this new business model would be for Lake Asphalt?
Madam Speaker, I think I was very clear. I said what has happened is a reassignment of portfolios. The entity has been assigned to the Ministry of Works. The commodities produced by Lake Asphalt are utilized primarily by the Ministry of Works and Transport, and it was felt it was a good fit. And I just very clearly and unambiguously said that the new business model will be finalized by the Ministry of Works and Transport, and therefore, by definition, it is not yet finalized.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Could the Prime Minister inform this House, based on the fact that a new business model is being adopted for Lake Asphalt, that the Interministerial Committee's report on Lake Asphalt, headed by the Minister of Public Administration, has been rejected by the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I don't know why members of the opposition want to introduce all of these irrelevant insinuations into these questions. Of course, the Ministry of Works and Transport will utilize that report in designing the new business model.
Member for Barataria-San.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Can the Prime Minister indicate whether or not the crisis taking place at Lake Asphalt is a result of the unfortunate closure of the Petrotrin refinery?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, again, I don't know why members opposite like to introduce these irrelevant insinuations. The government is ensuring that all of the expenses of Lake Asphalt are met. The government is providing funding to the company. Just recently, the Cabinet agreed to provide additional funding to the company to meet its monthly expenses, including wages and salaries. So there is no crisis.
Member for Naparima.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Given that the Russian-Ukraine war continues and will continue to impact food prices globally, will the Prime Minister indicate what plans, if any, the government has formulated aimed at increasing local food production?
Prime Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As honourable members are aware, in this year's budget, there is an allocation of $300 million, a special allocation for a stimulus program for the agricultural sector in fiscal 2022. And this $300 million is planned for utilization for a number of incentive programs within the agricultural sector, improving agricultural infrastructure, and various strategies to stimulate food production. More funding will be provided as needed. The government is also continuing in its drive to make this sector more attractive by ensuring that all aspects of food production become tax-free.
Famiaro.
Honourable Prime Minister, is this 300 million in addition to the 500 million that was previously appropriated through the Ministry of Finance into the Ministry of Agriculture?
Minister.
Madam
Prime
Speaker,
Minister.
I think that matter was covered in the Standing Finance Committee, properly ventilated, made crystal clear to all concerned, including members opposite, yes, it is an addition to any other funding provided to the Ministry of Agriculture.
Member Famiaro.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, is it the Minister's plan or the Ministry's plan to set measurable targets in the sector so practitioners can have an idea where the focus is based on the, the inflationary measures that are coming with the shortages of food and so on? Thank you.
Prime Minister.
I would expect the Minister of Agriculture and his ministry in planning their work program for 2022 to do exactly that.
Member Fanaparima.
Thank you. Is the government involved in any way in the regional food initiative led by Guyana, and which includes Barbados and other CARICOM countries?
Prime Minister.
I am advised that there's active consideration of involvement in that program.
Is the minister prepared to give a policy statement with respect to our involvement or not?
Prime
Not
Minister.
at this time, Madam Speaker.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, will the Prime Minister inform this House of the reasons which would have guided Trinidad and Tobago's decision to abstain in the United Nations General Assembly's vote to suspend Russia from the United Nations Human Rights Council?
Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. It must be noted that Trinidad and Tobago joined with other CARICOM member states in supporting the UN resolutions, plural, aggression against Ukraine of the 2nd March 2022 and humanitarian consequences of the aggression against Ukraine of the 24th March 2022. In fact, Trinidad and Tobago co-sponsored these resolutions. Via our support for those General Assembly resolutions and our clear positions at other international fora, Trinidad and Tobago and fellow CARICOM states have strongly condemned the Russian involvement of Ukraine, expressed grave concern about the plight of civilians in Ukraine, and called for an immediate ceasefire. CARICOM has also issued strong statements against the invasion based on consensus among its membership. The United Nations resolution of the 7th of April 2022 focused on the suspension of the membership rights of Russia at the Human Rights Council. It was discussed among CARICOM colleagues, but consensus was not achieved within CARICOM. Trinidad and Tobago has taken note of the fact that the International Criminal Court prosecutor is currently conducting an investigation into the situation in Ukraine, and that such investigation includes investigation of alleged war crimes and alleged crimes against humanity in all parts of Ukraine. These investigations have not been concluded, and as such, any definitive and actionable findings have yet to be reported. It is the considered position of Trinidad and Tobago that its suspension of membership rights at the Human Rights Council would best be considered subsequent to such an actionable independent report. At the time of the resolution, no independent commission of inquiry or impartial report was available.
The time is now spent.
Thank you.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Taking into consideration that Trinidad and Tobago co-sponsored resolutions in terms of condemning the Russian invasion into Ukraine, would you consider it a cop-out in terms of the position adopted by Trinidad and Tobago in this particular vote?
Prime Minister.
No, not at all. And let me continue. Because there was no independent report on this matter available, Trinidad and Tobago abstained on that particular matter. Other CARICOM countries such as Belize, Barbados, Guyana, St. Vincent, St. Kitts, and Suriname also abstained. And you will have heard me refer to the fact that there was no consensus in CARICOM on this matter. Madam Speaker, I want to assure all concerned that Trinidad and Tobago continues to be an integral part of the global action to condemn the Russian invasion and to bring this war to an end. And we will continue to work with fellow CARICOM members and our international partners to achieve that objective.
Member for Couva South.
Madam Speaker, given the over 100 days of reports of human rights atrocities and abuses coming out of Ukraine, I think that it is a hypocritical position adopted by Trinidad and Tobago.
Member, are you going to ask a question or are you making a statement? This is for a question. You've almost utilized your 15 seconds.
Is it hypocritical to hide behind the veil of an investigation being conducted by the International Criminal Court prosecutor?
Prime Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to repeat that Trinidad and Tobago joined with other CARICOM member states in supporting UN resolutions regarding aggression against Ukraine and humanitarian consequences of the aggression against Ukraine. And Trinidad and Tobago co-sponsored those resolutions. So Trinidad and Tobago's position on this matter is very clear. And with respect to the particular issue raised by the Honourable Member, it is the position of Trinidad and Tobago that we should wait the report from no other person than the court prosecutor of the International Criminal Court.
Member for Naparima.
Prime Minister, given that there was not a consensus and Trinidad is seen as a leader in CARICOM, why were we not able to get a consensual CARICOM position in the face of open atrocities by Russia?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I can't view that as a serious question. The member is experienced and would know that sometimes it is not very easy to get consensus in CARICOM, including on things as simple as West Indies cricket. And therefore the question is inappropriate.
Member for Naparima.
Prime Minister aware that Eric Williams was able to get a consensus with...
Member. Are you asking a question? Okay.
That Eric Williams used his leadership position to get a common position on the Cuban embargo in the 1960s.
Member, I rule that question out of order. You entitled a question on this issue if you wish. Member for Couva South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Will the Prime Minister inform this House precisely of the role of the Single Point Land Management Authority and when will it be established?
Prime Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In October of 2020, Cabinet agreed to the appointment of a committee chaired by Mr. Jerry Hospitalis to develop a plan and report to the Cabinet on a single point of authority for the management and administration of state land state land that is owned or controlled by state agencies. That committee reported to the Cabinet, and the Cabinet has agreed that the implementation of the committee's recommendations will be driven by the Office of the Prime Minister working with the Ministries of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, and Digital Transformation. The single point of authority is not an entity per se. It is an IT platform for the management and administration of state land using the existing human resources at the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries and other agencies of the state. This will enable the state to improve its management of land resources and in particular reviews of rent and collections of rent. The project team, which includes iGovTT, is at the point of selecting the appropriate software for the IT platform.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, could you inform this House how will this authority differ from its role and responsibilities from the Land Management Division, which currently falls under the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Marine Resources?
Prime Minister.
Let me just repeat this part of the answer. Maybe I was not speaking loudly enough. The single point of authority is not an entity per se. It is an IT platform for the management and administration of state land using the existing human resources at the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries. Let me stress that, using the existing human resources at the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, and other relevant agencies of the state. It's a collaborative effort.
Member for Old Puchis.
Thank you very much. Prime Minister, do you think it is wise to call this an authority when you're really referring to a web page?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I don't know if there's something wrong with the audio system, or maybe members opposite are just not hearing. But I said, and even the question, Madam Speaker, refers to a single point of authority, not a single point authority. It's a single point of authority.
Member for Couva South.
Madam Speaker, could the Prime Minister inform this House what position within this single point of management authority will be offered to the former Minister of Agriculture, Land and Marine Resources?
Is the webmaster?
I think, Madam Speaker, that matter has been fully ventilated in the public domain. The individual will be responsible for bringing this single point of authority into being.
Member for Couva South.
Prime Minister, could you inform this House who will determine the terms and conditions of employment of the former Minister of Agriculture, Land and Marine Resources?
Single point of authority.
Prime Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The terms and conditions of personnel associated with the single point of authority for the management and administration of state land will be determined by the Office of the Prime Minister in consultation with the Cabinet.
Urgent